It's about that time.
Stoned on Sports.
How's it going, everybody? You're tuned in to Stoned on Sports Fantasy Football. My name is Matt. Got the co-host Kyle here today. And holy shit, what a weekend when it comes to injuries. Obviously, you've got Juju, who's out for at least week 8. You've got Brandon Ayuk, tore his ACL and MCL. He's toast for the year. Chris Godwin, he's more than likely toast for the year. Mike Evans is going to be out until a month until around week 12. Deshaun Watson tore his Achilles, and I'm sure there will be a massive public outpouring of support and love for such an upstanding pillar of the community.
No, he was a model citizen throughout his collegiate and NFL career, and I'm like, a what?
Yes.
But that's not why we're here to rip on Deshaun Watson. We're here for waiver targets, and let me tell you, and the experts agree, it's slim pickings this week. It was really tough putting some names together. We got 10 of them for you, a mix of players and in no certain order, pretty much by position. But the first guy, I see we got some stuff in the chat there. Everybody's in the chat. Good stuff. I love it. First guy we got is QB Russell Wilson. He's likely the starter going forward. He had a pretty decent game. And the schedule is great. The next 3 got the Giants, Washington, and Baltimore, defenses that can be beaten through the air. And, if you guys watched the game, Russ started out pretty slow last night, or on Sunday night, I should say, but he started cooking there like he normally does there. And in the end, he put up his best QB performance. The best QB performance versus the Jets defense this season. Pretty spectacular. Now the Jets were hurting a little bit there with some injuries, especially on the back end, but it is what it is. Russ finished as QB3 in week 7 with 24.9 fantasy points. He had the 9th best passer rating in week 7 at 109 flat. He was 6th in yards per attempt at just over 9, and he was 6th in EPA at plus 7.3. Pretty good stuff. His tight window percentage was excellent. That's a throw where the intended receiver is less than a yard or less, I guess, of separation from the defender. He was 31%. He had the 3rd best rate in the NFL in week 7 for QBs. Pretty nice. He finished with 264 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, didn't throw a pick. Wasn't quite as pretty as the stats sheet suggests because he only completed 55.2% of his passes and was boosted by that 1-yard TD run. And completion percentage, just on a side note, was kind of bad. I thought 55 might have been the worst. Wilson's might have been the worst, but it wasn't. He was 7th bad. Purdy, Kyler, Stroud, DTR, Minshew, and AR were all worse than that 55%. I was a little shocked it was that many. Wilson was with the Broncos last year. He finished QB 14 last season, as well as QB 16 and fantasy points per game. And personally, it's probably best if you view him no more as a mid-range QB2 for fantasy. He no longer, really offers that significant rushing upside, even though he did have that rushing touchdown Sunday night. And the Steelers, but the Steelers aren't going to be, pass heavy. So, maybe Russ can get some more of those rushing touchdowns for you. But the pass catchers are, kind of below average there right now in Pittsburgh. Yeah, George Pickens had a good game, I think propped up by Russell Wilson starting. But Russ can still push the ball down the field when necessary, and you saw that happen on that long reception from Pickens. It's kind of nice. Wilson's got a favorable stretch of schedule here coming up. He gets the Giants in week 8, like I said. Then they're on bye week 9. They face the Commanders and the Ravens after that. I actually mentioned that at the top of the segment, didn't I? Double notes. Oh, well. Personally, I'll consider him just more of a patch at the QB position over the next few weeks than like a long-term solution. If I was in a 2 QB league or super flex, I'd think about starting him and adding him as my QB2 in super flex, but otherwise I don't think so.
Sure. And really, there's no guarantee he's going to hang on to the job.
True.
Tomlin come out, in the preseason, they said Russ is the QB1 and all that. But to his credit, Justin Fields played really damn well. And you also want to remember on a lot of those passes down the field, George Pickens helped his ass out a lot. And he really excels with those 50-50 balls, playing a more physical style down the field. And for whatever reason, just Justin Fields doesn't have the touch to throw those balls in a spot where he can actually go up and make a play. I think George Pickens is a huge beneficiary of this change at quarterback.
Absolutely. I see we got a couple questions in the chat. First one, Augusto, how you doing? Welcome to the show. RBs are Hall, Kamara, Chase Brown, Dobbins, Hunt, and Chubb. Wide receivers, London Neighbors, Godwin, DJ, Schuster, and Bowers, and Hawkinson is a tight end. That's nice. He's going for Debo because of Godwin. What should I give?
As little as possible.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would start with Chase Brown and go to there. You're a lot deeper at running back. So I'd look around the league and see, maybe you might be able to get somebody better than Debo. It's possible, where you're trading from a position of strength, but for sure, I'm going to start with, Chase Brown and Chubb or something like that, and then go from there.
Yep.
And really, if you're really set on getting Debo, start a dialogue with the owner, see what they'd want, see if you can get them to make the first move and give an indication of what they'd be looking for in return. There's a possibility you might end up paying less than what you thought you would have to.
Agreed. And it's kind of, you think of when you're selling something, you always start out high, work your way down. You're doing this trade. It's the opposite. Start with your low first and then work your way up as you talk with your, prospective trading partner there. But good luck, Augusto. It's tough out there.
It certainly is.
What we got? Blue Yays, right? Blue Yays. What's up, man? Our Canadian friend. Always glad to have you. Traded Jacobs for DJ Moore and a mid-round pick. Roast me. He got Kamara, Hunt, Hubbard, and Bigsby at RB. Needed a wide receiver. Went through everybody. That's the best I could get. I don't hate it. I think the Chicago offense is starting to pick up. You've seen Caleb Williams, his quarterback play pick up. He's not quite to where, like Stroud was or something last year, but you can see him improving each week. And I think that's going to be a big benefit for DJ Moore.
Yeah, I think so too. Josh Jacobs, I think, has been a little bit disappointing this year. I think there were some high hopes with him coming into Green Bay for the season. Where in the hell is he at on the year? He is the running back 15. I think we were looking for something a little bit better than that. He's averaging 13.1 points in a PPR. Look, DJ Moore is a fine asset. Kyle mentioned that we're starting to see improvement from Caleb Williams, a mid-round pick. If it's like a rookie draft pick, I don't really put a whole lot of value into that, especially for this upcoming draft. I don't really have high hopes for the talent that's coming out of college this year. I don't think it's absolutely awful of a trade. I think it's fine. You're essentially trading one disappointment for another.
Yep. Let's see, Himothy. Who can I trade for if I have Debo? And like Matt kind of said a little while ago, go through all your other teams, your league owners there, and look and see where they're tough at, where they're weak at, and start attacking from there.
Yeah, and really right now it's going to be tough to trade Debo. I understand he just got released from the hospital, but pneumonia is really nothing to mess with. We don't even know if he's going to be in this week. We are at the halfway point of the season. People are going to start to be a little more stingy with what's going on, and they're going to be more risk averse, likely, especially if they're up there in the standings. Now, if you're somebody who's in sixth place, but you think you can make a run, all right, that's a little bit different. Maybe you're going to take some more chances than you normally would if you were, at 6-1, something like that.
Sure. Yep. Let's see. IY, welcome to the show. Again, we are here every Tuesday and Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern and also 12 p.m. on Sundays, taking all your last minute questions before lineups lock. Who are you playing this week? Pickens or Devonta Smith? Pittsburgh is at home against the Giants. And who do the Eagles play? God, I need to remember that. On the road at the Bengals. They're both pretty good.
They are. I'm going with George Pickens. I saw a stat yesterday, and I forget the exactness of it or whatever the hell you want to say about Devonta Smith. When AJ Brown is on the field, he simply doesn't really produce. He does most of his damage when AJ Brown is out. George Pickens is the only show in town at wide receiver there. Yeah, Pat Freiermuth is going to get a little bit of love, and Jaylen Warren, who we're talking about a little bit later, should benefit from Russ being in there as well. But I'm going to go with Pickens in this particular matchup.
Yeah, and if you look at the fantasy points against, they're both about the same. Right there, they're both in the middle with fantasy points allowed to wide receivers, talking about Cincinnati's defense and the Giants. So, yep, Pickens is a good one. Gusto, follow-up question, what receiver would you go for? And kind of like we just mentioned to Timothy, it's tough without really knowing the whole makeup of your league and your team and stuff. It can be tough to do that. Again, take a minute, take 10, 15 minutes and look at each team and see where they're strong at, see where they're weak at, and see where you think that you could, make the best trade for. So it's a win for both owners.
Yep. Agree wholeheartedly. See who has an abundance at wide receiver, since your abundance is at running back. That's how you get nice matches made. People get too caught up in trying to win trades when the goal is improving your team.
Yep. Kelsey's in the chat. She won again. Awesome. Good stuff.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah. I was
6-1
about that because we had you put St. Brown in for, was it Neighbors? And Neighbors had a pretty pedestrian game, if I recall.
But she has Chris Godwin, who is essentially going to be out. We'll call it for the rest of the season with a broken ankle.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, he's having a rough go of it.
Parker Bledsoe, welcome back. Should I accept on a trade? He gets Debo and Pollard, and he shoots off Flowers and JT. Ugh, I still like keeping JT.
Yeah, I think he's supposed to start practicing this week. And this, you and I were talking earlier, this kind of the downside of doing a Tuesday show is we have no practice reports. We have no information, other than some preliminary stuff out of what happened over the weekend. So it can be difficult. Tony Pollard, he's done well this year, right? He's done better than any of us have really expected. But I have a hard time buying into that Tennessee Titans offense. Things really have not been going all that well, despite his best efforts. And as we saw this past weekend, it's very easy for him to get game scripted out of any relevance for the week.
Right.
Debo is always going to be Debo. He's going to be doing his thing now with Ayuk out. He should be more involved, but we don't know when he's going to be back on the field. Flowers is doing decent. I think he had hamstring injury yesterday. He left the game. Ankle. Obviously not as severe as Godwin's, and
No.
that's what JT is dealing with as well. The same ankle that has bothered him pretty much his entire career. Essentially, I just said a whole lot of words to say I want the Flowers and JT side of that deal as opposed to the Debo and Pollard side.
Yep, agreed. Timothy, closest I got to an upgrade is either Nico and Connors or Nico. Okay. Pollard and a second, but he has to give up Debo and JT. I don't like that either.
No, not really.
No, I'm keeping JT, and I'm sure you're probably losing patience because he hasn't played and stuff, but like Matt said, he should be back shortly. I'd hold on to him. And yeah, Godwin is out. Fractured ankle, likely to have season-ending surgery shortly. Bummer. I rostered him in 3 leagues. I went pretty brave, and it cost me. But I made a couple trades today, so hopefully they'll be all right. Thanks, Matt. Dreets Bros Sports, welcome to the show. He needs help with quarterbacks and tight ends. Who are the two guys you prefer rest of season between Tua, Mahomes, Cousin, and Caleb Williams in a 4-point passing touchdown? We'll go one question at a time here.
Yeah, the first one, Mahomes is droppable. The two guys I prefer would be Cousins and probably Caleb Williams. With Tua, you've always got the concussion thing in the back of your mind. He's trending towards playing this week, but there's no guarantee with that. Mahomes, yeah, the Chiefs are undefeated, but it's not really because of him. It's because of the defense and a revitalized Kareem Hunt. Give me Kirk Cousins and an ascending Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Kirk didn't look good the other day at all. He had a bad game. It's tough. Looking at their schedule, it's pretty middling. There's some good matchups coming up. There's some bad ones too, like Denver and the Chargers. They've been pretty good defensively, but I'm inclined to agree with you there. And then tight end, Komet or Hunter Henry in PPR. I'm going Hunter Henry. I think we'll talk about him shortly, but I think he has the safest floor out of all the tight ends. I'll just say that.
Sure, really. And once you get outside of the top 4 or 5, the next 10, it doesn't matter. Draw a name out of a hat. It does look like Hunter Henry and Drake May have a nice little connection there. And with Komet, I understand the temptation of him, but there's so much other pass catching talent around him that I think he's going to be less consistent, even if he does have a higher upside than Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
And with it being a PPR, I think Hunter Henry is just going to get more targets, quite frankly.
Hi, Wise back. You have Monty, B-Rob, and Najee. Which two are you starting? Because he's got Pacheco and JT. On the shelf right now. Monty's got Tennessee. They're tough against running backs, but God, I feel like I'd definitely go with him.
Yeah.
But
Brian Robinson draws the Bears. Granted, it's at home. Najee has had back-to-back 100-yard games, and now that there's a legit passing offense for the defense to be aware of, with the ball going further than 5 yards downfield, that's going to open some things up. I'm going with Monty and Najee there.
Yeah, it's good. And if you look, a lot of stack boxes that Najee's been facing the first part of the season here, and I expect that, as Matt alluded to go away a little bit there with Russ being able to stretch the field.
And he's got a little stable there too. He's got Pacheco and JT out right now, so yeah, yep. You've got some running back depth. This kind of feels like the year of the running back with all these wide receiver injuries.
And we've touched on it before, and even in private conversations as well about it. It's rough out there. And I know I did a couple drafts where it just in a redraft where it just fell, where I'm like, I took 2 running backs with my first 2 picks because some of the other wide receivers were gone. I'm glad I did. Heck yeah. All right, where are we at? Let's go. Next.
Yes.
With Amari Cooper traded, Deshaun Watson's now done for the year. You got Nick Chubb and David Njoku are back in the lineup, and Jameis Winston probably under center. The Browns offense is about to look a lot damn different. Matt, if Jameis Winston is back, is YOLO ball back as well?
YOLO ball is back on the menu. I do want to point out too, and we always forget to mention this at the top of the show, we got merch. We got the t-shirt, we got the hat. If you're interested, hit me up on X. I'll get the particulars from you and we'll get it out in the mail to you. Hats are 25, t-shirts are 20, or get them both for 40. Excellent. Sales pitch is over. Jameis Winston, the last time he had real significant playing time was 2021 with the Saints, and in 7 starts, he completed 59 of his passes, or 59% of his passes for 1,170 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 3 picks. That's not bad at all. His last season as a full-time starter was 2019, where he went for over 5,000 yards and had the NFL's only 30 touchdown, 30 INT season. And you always want to be the first, usually, to go 30-30. This past week against Cincinnati, he was 5 of 11 for 67 yards and a passing touchdown. You kind of mentioned it there a little bit in the intro. He's probably going to improve the fantasy prospects of David Njoku, Jerry Jeudy, who was the most targeted receiver while he was in, and Cedric Tillman, who's taking over in that X role for Amari Cooper. And look, Jameis, aside from not being afraid to jump in an Uber and grope the driver allegedly and get himself banned from Uber for his rest of his life, he ain't afraid to sling it. The result of that, though, is a lot of picks. However, I think he is a very viable option in Superflex and 2 QB leagues. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is there. He's also under consideration by the team, but he's dealing with a finger injury. Now, x-rays come back negative, but it's doubtful he plays this week. Dorian Thompson-Robinson does offer some rushing upside that Jameis does not, but he also completes about 45% of his passes. And we're talking like that's worse than Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson is already shitty in that regard. They've got a good matchup next week against that Ravens pass defense that has not looked anything like a Ravens pass defenses of old that we're used to. Granted, the skill position quality isn't the greatest. Jerry Jeudy, in terms of what we thought he was going to be and what he's produced in the league, it's not been great. Cedric Tillman, he's a 3rd-round rookie out of Tennessee, put up some nice numbers there when he was in college, but just he hasn't really had the opportunity to come on the field. But he had a pretty damn good week last week against who in the hell did they play? Cincinnati. What the hell did he do? 18.1 points in a PPR. From out of friggin' nowhere. So he stepped right into that role and really produced. If you're hurting at QB, I certainly understand it. He may be a very short-term solution for you. Out of those two that we talked about, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, Kyle, who would you rather have?
Wow. Can't believe I'm about to say this. Well, give it time, because I really think that as Nick Chubb ramps up, the offense is going to have a hell of a lot more of an identity. They didn't have shit the first few weeks of the first 7 weeks of the season there. And, with Jameson, there's going to be mistakes. He's probably guaranteed to throw at least one pick a game. There's little rushing upside, but he's freaking capable of huge passing totals. I think that's huge. Right now, I'll say Russ Wilson.
Yeah, I think I would agree on that.
Give it time, though. Maybe some things could work out there if Chubb work. I mean, if you guys are looking for Jameis Winston to do what Joe Flacco did last year, not going to happen. No flipping way. No,
I agree.
Let's see. Okay, let me remove this. All right, you're killing me, Smalls. Quan, what's up? Is it time to trade Marvin Harrison Jr.? It was rough yesterday. That was a very low-scoring game.
It was. I mean, if you trade him, you're essentially trading him at his lowest value right now. So this was a dude who was a borderline 1st-round pick during draft season. If you sell now, you're selling for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
quite frankly.
And I don't see it getting much better, because they got Miami. They allow the fewest points to wide receivers, followed by Chicago, the 4th least, and the Jets, the 6th least.
Well, that Miami defense doesn't scare me. I look at them from the standpoint of like nobody's had to throw against them to beat them. Because the offense isn't doing shit. Now with Tua hopefully back this week, it might be a different story. I mean, if you want to throw some feelers out there and see what you can get for them, that's fine. But just understand, like I said, you're trading him for 50 cents on the dollar,
right?
Maybe even less.
Good call. IY. So based off our advice, ARSB and Neighbors at wide receiver, Najee Amani at running back, and B-Rob or Pickens at flex. Man, I like both of those. You still leaning Pickens?
Yeah, I think so. With Marcus Mariota in at quarterback, and it's not a certainty. Jaden Daniels is considered week to week. He's at home, but I don't really want to mess with that Bears defense. I would rather go with Pickens going up against that Giants pass defense, personally.
Good luck, IY. Timothy, Otten or Laporta this week? I feel Laporta with Jameis and William being out. I mean, you look at last year where Jameson didn't, play the whole year, and Laporta had this huge damn year. I think we're bound for a Laporta game. The tough thing is Tennessee is very, very tough against tight ends in fantasy.
They are, and speaking of disappointments, Sam Laporta, first tight end off the board this year, and hasn't done jack squat.
Mm-hmm.
I think a direct result of both Godwin and Evans being out is I think Cade Otton is going to see increased volume. I'm going to go with Cade Otton this week.
Yeah,
in a matchup for first place in the NFC South against the Falcons.
That's a big matchup. Good call.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. Rob's 323. Welcome to the show. Kraft or Laporta? I know you're high on Tucker Kraft. I think he had a touchdown last week, right?
Yeah, he sure did. He only had 3 or 4 targets. I forget the exact number, but he found the end zone, and he got
33.
33 yards. He ended up with 12.3 points in a PPR. If you can get that out of a tight end, then absolutely do it. Coming into the season, there's no way in hell I would have said Kraft over Laporta, but it's no longer the preseason. It's no longer week 3. It's no longer week 4. We're halfway through the fantasy regular season, and we need to behave accordingly. Where people drafted no longer matters. I'm going with Tucker Kraft.
Yeah. And you must stay active. You must make the right pickups and not be afraid to take, calculated risk to completely sometimes reshape your team with just the way the injuries have decimated folks. It's a rough year. And as Matt alluded to before, after the first few tight ends, the rest of them, you're just hoping they're going to fall into the end zone, and
that's it
with Laporta and Kraft. That's my thinking with that. And then Quan, thank you. Go blue as well. Maybe he saw the no, it's this shoulder, Kyle. You're backwards. The block M there. Love from Madison Heights. Appreciate it. We love you.
That might be my favorite comment that we've ever had here in the chat.
It's the good stuff. I love it.
Yeah, it is. Go blue.
I am live just north of Flint, Quan. So I am not that far from you. 90 minutes or so.
Yes. And you guys out there watching, if you haven't already, if you enjoy what you see, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're here Tuesday and Thursday at 7, and we're around at noon on Sundays to help out with those last minute decisions.
Heck yeah.
We got one more. IY. Appreciate all the advice. We're happy to do it, man. We appreciate you joining us. Last question is, JT comes back. Do you start him? Absolutely. Yeah. He is a plug and play, set and forget. Don't know how old you are, but he's a Ronco food dehydrator. Set it and forget it. Just plug him in your lineup and move on with your day.
Yeah, you didn't draft him as high as you did to park him on your bench when he's healthy.
Yep. Matchup doesn't matter. Quarterback doesn't matter. He's in there.
Start your studs for sure.
Look at this. Bisco's in here. Pulled off the unexpected dub this week with Lamar's 34-plus points. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. I know we always hope to win, but we're also, we try to be realistic. And when you come into the week thinking this just ain't my week and you get that win, it's just a little bit sweeter.
Yeah. Rob's is back. Traded Amari Cooper for Puka. I did it more for the longevity since it's a dynasty league. That's the right move for dynasty. Amari Cooper's 30 years old.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And they just opened up the 21-day window for Puka today as well.
Yep.
So no, that's a damn good trade there.
It sure is. Next up.
Yes. So I remember back in the day when this guy was in Minnesota and we would always hear, man, if he was on his own team, he'd be a rock solid. He'd be a superstar. He'd be an RB1. And it didn't really quite pan out. So he makes his way to Las Vegas. And to start out the year, he was behind Zamir White, who was a 0 RB darling this year, who's done jack squat. And now Alexander Mattison has ascended the depth chart, taken over the lead role in that backfield. What do you think of him moving forward?
Not too bad. It's the team context. The environment kind of sucks. They just lost their, all-pro receiver, and well, I don't know if he was an all-pro last year. He probably wasn't, but Devonta Adams, and you got what's his face is out. The quarterback got hurt. What's his name? O'Connell.
Yep.
Is out 4 to 6, I believe. So, re-enter Gardner Minshew. It's rough, but Alexander Madison's an RB2 on the season. He's RB21 in PPR. As Matt mentioned about Zamir White, he missed the past 2 games due to a groin injury. He did play this past week, but he played only 11 of 79 offensive snaps. Even before White's injury, it was pretty much understood that Alexander Mattison would play more going forward. He dominated snaps in the first half this past week, played 30 out of a possible 41. He ran 13 times while White saw the field for just 2 pass plays. White did get more work in the second half, but I think that's just because Mattison touched the ball so goddamn much. If anything, Mattison was getting rotated out more in passing situations for Amir Abdullah. White may play a little bit more when he's closer to 100 strength health there, but for now it's clear it's Mattison's backfield. He led the team in snaps, routes run, and touches. He ran 23 times for 92 yards, 4 per carry, kind of on the low side, but he caught all 3 of his targets for 31 yards. Unfortunately, he did not score a touchdown. Any running back who touches the ball 26 times when every other running back on the roster is healthy needs to be rostered and started in fantasy football, period. Over the past 3 games, Mattison has averaged nearly 21 touches per game, scoring at least 10 fantasy points in each of those games, including 2 with at least 15 points. And, I mentioned the team context. The Raiders offense is 25th in total yards. They're 26th in points scored per game. But a running back like Mattison with that volume deserves a spot on more fantasy rosters. I don't like the matchup this week against the Chiefs. They've been pretty tough on running backs. But I still think he deserves to be rostered. He needs to be on everybody's radar going forward if he's going to see this type of volume.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now he's granted a low end RB2, but an RB2 nonetheless, who is essentially available for free. And, this is what we're used to seeing on the waiver wire, especially at the running back position. And it feels like this year there's just not been a whole lot of that. And this week in particular, you mentioned it at the top, is kind of rough because nobody is on bye this week.
Nope.
Everybody's playing, so you don't have, people making the same quantity of moves that we would normally see at this point in the season because they've got to cover 2-3 guys out. So,
yep.
I mean, he's got a spot on my team.
For sure. Himothy, for dynasty purposes. Oh, I hit the wrong button. How high are you on Jordan Addison? I'm pretty high. It's a pretty good offense. Damn good defense that puts them in short fields here and there. Darnold seems pretty solid there in Minnesota. And for dynasty, he's young. I like him. And next year, he's going to have J.J. McCarthy hopefully throwing to him.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen if that'll be an upgrade or a downgrade from what Darnold is doing. I'm high on him as well. He does have a cap, though, or a ceiling, just because as long as Justin Jefferson is there, he's going to be the number 2 receiver on his team. So I think just with that in mind, his ceiling is maybe something like, what you would see out of T. Higgins or, Chris Godwin, not this year, but in years past where, this guy is the 1A to the other guys, 1. I mean, he's not going to get the huge amount of targets that you see with like a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, a Cooper Kupp when he's healthy, something like that. But that doesn't mean he can't come in somewhere around 7 or 8 targets per week. And look, he can do damage on that workload.
You saw him last year when Jefferson went out and he was electrifying. It was great. He held up.
Yeah, I mean, as he matures in the league and he missed some time this year due to injury, I think if you can get, we'll say next year, if you can get 17 games out of him with good quarterback play, there's no reason he can't go for 1,000 yards and half a dozen touchdowns. He's
Absolutely.
that kind of talent.
Yep. And you think, some teams scheme and try and take Justin Jefferson out of it. I don't think they're all that successful very much,
No,
but
not really, especially Detroit.
yeah, the beneficiary of that in a vacuum would be, Jordan Addison and Hawkinson soon when he comes back. But I like Addison.
Yeah, so do I. He's a good asset to have.
Bisco, welcome back, man. Glad you could join us tonight. Is Tank Bigsby a hold or a sell high? Well, I just sold him.
You did. For me, he's a hold. And one thing that we saw when Travis Etienne went out and that other dickhead come in, Tank Bigsby's role did not change.
Yeah. Dearness Johnson.
Yeah, Dearness Johnson. He's not going to get a lot of passing down work, but he can be a factor out of the backfield. But he is a good asset. As long as you don't expect the numbers he put up last week on a week-to-week basis, I think you're going to be good. I think he's, in the RB2 range, flex range, something like that, depending on whether or not he finds the end zone and what kind of volume they're going to get. Now, granted, the team context is not great. Jaguars look like ass this year. So it's not like he's going to be out there icing out a lot of games. But at the same time, he's really improved from last season to this season, and he's earned the touches that go along with that. I mean, the dude's leading the NFL in yards per carry. What the hell more do you want from him?
Yeah, is he still over like 7?
I don't think so.
I don't remember what it was.
Let me pull up that.
He was 7-2. I think he was 7-2 headed into the week.
It's possible.
Yeah. While you're looking that up, Rob's 323. Is Etienne a drop?
No.
I gotta believe I got a spot for him somewhere on my roster. I think some games for him are coming. Jacksonville needs to figure their offensive line is fucking atrocious.
It is. Their offensive coordinator is also atrocious. That offense is just, 7 different kind of ways screwed up this season. And it sucks because there's some talent there. But I doubt there's anybody available on your waiver wire who's going to be better, and you want to remember Travis Etienne, despite the poor performance and statistical output this year, he's somebody with a defined role.
Yeah, that's true. Bisco, top PPR wide receivers for bench depth rest of season. Khalil Shakir, Lad McConkey, Josh Downs, or Tyler Lockett rest of season.
Since it's a PPR, I'm going to say McConkey. Josh Downs, to me, really only has value if Joe Flacco is in there. Anthony Richardson just struggles throwing the football. And Tyler Lockett, surprisingly enough, is on pace for almost 950 yards this year. Very, very quietly.
Yes. Yep. He averages over the last 5 weeks, 7.4 targets a game.
Yeah. So I'd go with McConkey and Lockett.
Good stuff. Okay. Where were we at? Mattison. All right. Next up, Jaylen Warren saw nearly as many snaps as Najee Harris last week. He looked pretty good. And now he gets captain checked down as his QB, which should increase his volume going forward. What do you think, Matt?
I think outside of George Pickens, Warren is likely the happiest to see Russ in at QB because there's 2 things that Russ does well. He throws it deep and he dumps it off. And Jaylen Warren, we've seen over his first 2 seasons in the league, he's been very, very efficient, very effective. He averaged 4.9 yards a carry as a rookie and 5.2 last season. And he's a good play out of the backfield as well. 7.6 yards per reception as a rookie, just 6 last season, but still pretty damn good. And last year he scored 8 touchdowns on 210 touches. This week he was his most involved in the running game and in the offense as a whole with 15 opportunities. You mentioned the snap share was up there. Now look, Najee's been playing well with a back-to-back 100 yards. But Jaylen Warren also missed a couple games earlier in the season with a knee injury. And at the end of the day, the Steelers still run the ball the 4th most in the league. Najee is going to take a lot of the rush work. We knew that coming in, but Warren should still be good for 7 to 9 carries and around a dozen or so touches. And looking at the next couple of weeks, they got the Giants this week, their bye, and then they get the Commanders. I'm not really overly concerned about any of those rushing defenses there. I think Warren, as he gets going, is an excellent complement to Najee Harris. Again, Najee is going to get the volume, but Warren really has that versatility to, catch the ball out of the backfield, get him the ball. He can run it. He's not your between the tackles guy. That's Najee, but get him the ball on some sweeps and some off tackle. And he's somebody who can take it to the house. He's a very versatile and explosive back. Again, we love the efficiency. He was almost over the past couple of years like a poor man's Tony Pollard. Excuse me. This isn't going to be a super high scoring offense. Last week was just the second time the Steelers have scored 30 or more points this year. Granted, we do have the updated situation at quarterback and what should be an upgrade. At the same time, we're talking about a guy who's available in 60% of leagues, who has shown before that he can be a factor and put up fantasy points. If you're hurting at running back, he's somebody I would definitely be looking at.
For sure, considering that sorry, I'm typing and trying to talk at the same time. The Steelers are second in the league in rush attempts year to date so far. That I can't tell you how huge that is. I think Warren, I've been holding on to him in one league, and I almost thought about dropping him a couple weeks ago, but I think towards the end of the season here, playoff time, he could be a league winner in that offense that runs the hell out of the ball. I like it. I mean, they're operating as a committee now, but I think as Warren moves farther and farther from that knee injury and gets healthier, his workload should continue to grow.
Absolutely.
JMW85 mentioned hoping Kate Otten will cure my Sam Laporta hole on my team. And I mentioned I think he's the best tight end to have over the next month with Evans out and Godwin gone.
Yeah,
outside
absolutely.
of the top, 3.
And that situation, and we're going to touch on that in a little bit more detail here in a minute. Everything is up in the air.
Yep.
We don't know what the hell is going to happen.
The Belgian Bronco, welcome back to the show. Good afternoon, man. Wanted to get another opinion for who to start. That's what we're here for, all your needs here. At wide receiver, he's looking at either BTJ or Pickens. Who's Jacksonville play? I know they're back at home.
Packers.
So been across the pond for a while. I like BTJ. I mean, he's the man in that offense. He's seeing all the targets. Christian Kirk, it's BTJ over Pickens. I don't hate Pickens this week. Matt might even tell you Pickens, but I think BTJ.
Yep, Matt is going to tell you Pickens. I like the matchup better. Jair Alexander is a damn good cornerback, and BTJ is likely going to see a lot of him. The Giants have no equivalent for that.
That's true.
And again, we talked about it when you were profiling Russ. Like, Pickens is the kind of receiver that, he thrives on those 50-50 balls down the field and really helps to open things up. Yeah. I think I don't necessarily know he's going to get fed, but who in the hell else are they going to throw it to besides Pat Freiermuth? Like, I love me some Roman Wilson, but come on.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And then at tight end, Hunter Henry or Ferguson. Cowgirls got to go to Santa Clara, I believe, in week 8 for Sunday Night Football, if I'm not mistaken.
So,
and
yes,
the Cowboys' offense is just blah. It's tough outside of Dak and CD hooking up for a couple. Like, that's all you've really seen this year. It's tough, but I'm going to have a hard time saying this, but I'm going to go with Hunter Henry, even in that offense. I think he's the security blanket for Drake May, and I like the chemistry.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. It's a tough matchup for Hunter Henry going up against the Jets. One thing I will say is we did see a big turnaround in the Cowboys offense after their bye last year. That's I don't true. Necessarily think we're going to see the same thing this year, because what we saw last year really was a philosophical change of the offense where they essentially just abandoned the run. And I think teams have figured out now, if you just harass the shit out of CD Lamb, they don't have anybody that's going to do anything else. They have no running game whatsoever. Ferguson is pretty good, but he's not somebody who can carry an offense.
Yeah.
So
Bisco, do we think the Hunter Henry production will continue this week? Not sure. He has Ingram and Hawkinson, and possibly getting Hunter off waivers. If I have that group, I'm going to start Ingram. It's tough, but
it is. Yeah, I think
Jacksonville being back home after being across the pond for the last couple weeks, 2.5 weeks. I think they got there so early. Yeah, give me Ingram.
Yeah, I mean, Ingram is just the best out of between him and Hunter Henry. Hawkinson, we'll see what happens with him. He didn't play last week. They're thinking maybe he does this week, but still, I mean, he's less than a full calendar year out from that injury.
He is, and he has no rapport with Sam Darnold as of right now. So that's something to consider.
Yeah. Kelsey says there's no women's football league. As a matter of fact, there is. I think it's the Women's Football Alliance or something like that. It is a professional tackle football league, and that is really all I know about it. I'm aware of its existence, and that's about it.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
All right. So this guy made a massive impact earlier in the season for the 49ers, and now with Brandon Ayuk out and Debo dealing with what he is, all of a sudden Jauan Jennings is the hot waiver target again.
Yep. I think we all know what he did in week 3 when Debo was out and Kittle was also out as well. 11 catches, 175 yards, 3 touchdowns, scored 46.5 PPR points, finishing as wide receiver 1 that week. Jennings is dealing with an injury himself, hip injury. He missed this last week. He didn't even practice at all last week, but he is expected back in week 8, according to Kyle Shanahan. Jeez, I almost said Mike Shanahan. That'd have been weird. And he should walk into a big role now that Ayuk's done for the year. Debo had been hospitalized with some type of pneumonia. He was out or released today from the hospital, but has no return timeline. Chris Cowley, another wide receiver piece, depth there for them. He sprained an ankle as well. And George Kittle is day-to-day with a foot sprain. San Francisco does have a pair of interesting rookies there in Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing, but Jauan Jennings, I think, is a circle of trust veteran who should benefit greatly and help out Purdy a ton. He's the clear waiver priority pickup this week for anyone searching for answers at receiver. People are going to be unloading their fab on him this week, I think, in hopes that he puts up 46.5 points again. Let me clue you in. He's not gonna. He has drawn a 17.1 target share and a 23.1 first read share, which is nice. He has 7 red zone targets and 5 end zone targets on the year. Among the 42 wide receivers with 35 targets or more, Jauan Jennings looks pretty good. He's 6th in PFF receiving grade, tied for 4th in yards per reception, 3rd in yards per route run at 2.75. I think he's a weekly wide receiver 3 flex play moving forward with Ayuk out. I think it'll be obviously difficult for him to have another 3 touchdown game, but a higher target share is coming. Pearsall, the 49ers invested a first-round pick on him. He's tied to one of the league's best play callers who now has a need for weapons in the receiving game. It's hard for me not to hate on Ricky or Pearsall either. I think he's a nice target as well. It's worth taking a risk on him, a flyer, I think, and see how the depth chart and the targets kind of shake out after this week. But he's a rookie. He was injured. Obviously, he was had the gunshot thing there, so he didn't start the season on time there. He got a late start. He's got no real pre-existing rapport with Brock Purdy. So, I wouldn't classify him as a sure thing. Overall, Jennings, Pearsall, it's a messy fucking situation there in the receiving core in Santa Clara. But Jennings is the first player to target from that group if he does indeed get back on the field in week 8.
Yeah, he's either going to make a lot of people happy or disappoint quite a few people.
Yeah.
So we got a question here in the chat from KJ. Should I drop Christian Watson for Jennings or Pearsall full PPR? My thought on Christian Watson is he is Green Bay's Gabe Davis.
Yeah. I think he's a drop.
Yeah, for sure. And I would go with Jennings. I mean, Ricky Pearsall has a very limited amount of time on the field. He didn't really have a whole lot of time to develop any chemistry with Brock Purdy. And remember, dude just got shot like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And now he's back out there playing. Like, props to him. And it's a great story to see. I'm not a big human interest.
Brian Robinson got shot, and he's been having a good last couple of years. So maybe that's what it takes. You need to get shot.
But yeah, Jennings, I think, is going to be a nice, solid option for you. Christian Watson, can he have that 120-yard, 2-touchdown game? Sure, but good luck predicting when it's going to happen.
Yeah, so many weapons on that Packers team, and Love's really been pretty good about spreading the ball around, even to his tight ends and stuff. Yeah, I helped manage my brother's team, and I had him drop him this week. I'm like, we're done with this guy.
Yep.
And I like how he wrote his name Kristen instead of Christian, which is great. I'm not ragging on you for that, KJ. I just think he is a bitch. He's a little Kristen.
Kelsey's got some life goals now to play women's professional football.
Cool.
Look, you're already a Hall of Fame tight end. I think it would be a natural transition for you.
Oh, that was a good one.
And then Bisco wants to know where we're based out of. I'm in Indianapolis. Kyle is about an hour and 20 minutes north of Detroit, but we're both Michigan natives.
Yeah.
You'd probably hear your damn Michigan accent.
Yeah, that's what it is. My Myers and Kroger's and Costco.
All right. Let's move along here.
Let's do it. All right. DK Metcalf has a grade 1 MCL sprain and is questionable to play in week 8. JSN will surely see an increase in targets, but he's pretty widely rostered already. Enter veteran Tyler Lockett, who has averaged 7.4 targets per game the last 5 weeks. He should also receive a bump in value. Here's Matt to tell you more.
Yes. So, those of us who roster DK, obviously we're sad. It's looking likely that Jake Bobo will be the direct takeover for DK while he's out, but I think this is a pretty big upgrade for Lockett. Though he's not really the receiver he used to be, he's still been a viable flex option, and he's on pace for almost 1,000 yards. I think it's like 934 yards. Touchdowns haven't really been there, though. On the year, 46 targets, 30 grabs for 384, and he found the end zone once. Over the past 4 weeks, though, he's been a legit wide receiver 3. His 12.8 yards per reception are his highest since 2021. And right now he's looking at about a 17% target share. It's tied for 41st at the position, but that's going to increase during any time DK misses, be it 1 week or 3. He also ranks inside the top 25 in receptions, yards, and red zone targets. Per player profiler, he is 6th at the position in routes run, even though he's just 53rd with a 72.8% snap share. Makes up for it, though, with a 90% route participation. And the Seahawks, this is not the offense we're used to seeing from them. They lead the league in pass attempts, completions, and yards, and I don't really see that changing a whole hell of a lot in DK's absence. Their next 3 games, the Seahawks got the Bills, their bye, the Rams and Niners. All 3 teams rank in the top 12 in terms of yards allowed to wide receiver. Overall, I'm going to give him a slight bump up. He is we'll call it a mid wide receiver 3 with wide receiver 2 upside if he finds the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, when you've had at least 6 targets over your last 5 games, that's pretty good. And with DK most likely out, I think Lockett will be the beneficiary. It's a good pickup. Still should be widely available. Not widely available, but over a third of leagues there, but 40%. But it's a good grab.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Welcome to the show, Marlon in the chat. Would you trade Lamb and Javonte Williams for Drake London and Puka Nacua in a 10-man PPR with Brian Thomas and Devonta Smith as his other wide receivers? I think I would.
Yeah, Devonta Smith, he's been a pain in my ass this year, quite frankly.
I really thought he was going to excel under Kellen Moore.
I thought so too,
yeah.
Quite frankly. But it's not really turned out that way. He's really only performed reasonably well when A.J. Brown has been out. When A.J. Brown has been in, he's been essentially an afterthought and really a drag on my team. Drake London, look, Kirk Cousins has found his target there in Atlanta. His poor man's Justin Jefferson. Puka, like I mentioned earlier, it's looking like they opened up his 21-day window to come back. So it still could be the middle of November. We don't necessarily, just because that window is open doesn't mean he's going to be back this Sunday or next Sunday or whatever it may be.
This is true.
I'm going to go ahead and do that. The way CD has played this year, I understand the talent that he is, but reputation doesn't win fantasy matchups, quite frankly.
Nope. And I mentioned sometimes you have to make these bold moves, these calculated risks, these things. Otherwise, you might not make it, and you'll, hindsight's 20/20. I like it too. I would stamp my approval on it.
I can dig it. I can dig it.
Where are we at? 7:55. Okay, next.
Yes. So Juju disappointed all of us. He was a hot waiver target last week, and he proceeds to play like 3 fucking snaps and then goes out with a hamstring injury that popped up at the end of the week. And now the Chiefs, like they have been all season, are looking at receivers. They do have a couple in-house options. Kyle, what are your thoughts on those?
Oh, it's rough. So Justin Watson, Mecole Hardman, I guess off the top, Justin Watson fits the profile better for what they're going to be looking for than Hardman. He is versatile where he lines up. Justin Watson is. He'll be 2/3 of the time out wide and 1/3 in the slot. He has a very healthy 93.6 route participation, which is why I'm leaning more towards Justin Watson, targeting him. But his target share is just 5%. So, that sucks. But given what has happened over the last 48 hours, he's a good pickup. He ran the second most routes behind Xavier Worthy in week 7, but he only caught 1 target for 8 yards. But he should definitely see an uptick in targets. They got to throw to somebody. They can't just throw to one guy over and over and over. I think the defense is going to pick up on that a bit. Mecole Hardman, he had 2 design rushes for 38 yards and a touchdown alongside a 17-yard reception. The Raiders are really not a great matchup for wide receivers since they allow the 8th fewest points in fantasy, but to wide receivers, I should say. But Hardman is familiar with Mahomes. He's familiar with Kansas City and their offense, and Kansas City gets their playmakers involved in unique ways. So Hardman could see some volume. His role is kind of undetermined really in that offense. I think he should be viewed as a desperation flex play until, we get some more information and see how his usage shakes down this week. Sure, he could rail off a big play or get in the end zone on some design rushing play, but I kind of worry since he's more of a gadget player that he could produce a big fat dud. But still, he's a playmaker on a team in desperate need of anyone who fits that description. What do you think? Anything?
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
I mean, Mecole Hardman almost seems like a duplicate of Xavier Worthy, the smaller, faster dudes that,
Sure.
They're gadgety. Justin Watson, he's been used down the field repeatedly. So, yeah, your guess is as good as mine. At the end of the day, folks, we're all trying to predict the future. None of us knows what's going on in those meeting rooms or in the mind of Andy Reid, other than that cat is looking for some nuggies at every turn. We're just doing our best to say, all right, this is what we think is likely to happen.
Right.
We got Disco here. Yes. What should he do with Kamara? Wait until he booms and sell, or hold the line because he's coming back once Carr is good.
I'm holding the line. I'm keeping him.
Yes.
He's
I like that gladiator reference too.
Yes, he's he's just too damn good to sell or let go.
He is, and
now unless you get something, just you get blown away by some offer, then yeah, consider it. But I'm holding him.
Yeah, so am I. And he's got some tougher matchups coming up at the Chargers. The Panthers are straight ass against everything. Falcons and Browns. The Chargers, Falcons, and Browns are top 10 against running backs. But after that, as we get to, we'll call it late November, Rams, Giants, Commanders, the Raiders are in there.
So fantasy playoff time.
Yes, fantasy playoff time. You're going to be thankful that you still got him.
Yep, agreed. Let's see. What do we got here? Hey, you know what? We love the promotion, guys. I appreciate that. Drop a sub, Marlon. These guys are bringing me championship this year, consistent. I appreciate those kind words, Bisco. It's free. You can subscribe. Don't want you to miss our show. Obviously, you can watch the replay if you want. I know that we do the live Q&A in the chat. You guys miss us? Put your question in the comments. We monitor that. We will respond. It might not be in 5 minutes, but it'll be within the hour, I would imagine. So if you miss us, you can always do that as well.
We're both usually bored at work.
Yeah. Yeah, our work doesn't ask too much from us. Your channel name reminds me of a jiu-jitsu league called High Rollers out here in Vegas. Red eyes required to...
There you go. I like it, Bisco. I like it.
All right. Jalen McMillan was drafted by the Bucs as a plan B for both Evans and Chris Godwin, given his experience in the slot and outside. Mostly he's played in the slot, but so now McMillan is fantasy manager's plan B, as he now must replace slot monster Chris Godwin, who suffered a season-ending injury last night. Is McMillan the Bucs receiver to grab? I mean, I know there's some options, but he seems like the top guy.
Yeah, I think so. If I'm going to take a chance on one of those receivers, it's going to be him. He had 8 targets, but only pulled in 3 of them for 15 yards yesterday. However, he did have an end zone target that was picked off. And his usage was really strange. He was either deep or like at or near the line of scrimmage. There's no intermediate usage for him, at least looking at his targets yesterday. In the short term, like, look, the Bucs are fucked. We're talking about a guy here who on the season has 15 targets. He's caught 6 of them for 74 yards and a touchdown. Cade Otton's stock is up, obviously. I think McMillan's is as well. I think, at least for this week, the most likely outcome is likely that they lean on the run game a little bit more.
Say likely one more time.
Dude, I'm going to reach through the screen and beat the shit out of you just to pass the time.
All right.
I wouldn't be shocked if they traded for a wide receiver either. Maybe they go after Mike Williams or somebody like that. They've got Trey Palmer and Sterling Shepard is also in the mix. Sterling Shepard was a college teammate of Baker Mayfield's there at Oklahoma. If you're expecting a 1-to-1 substitute in terms of production, you're going to have a bad time, because that is not going to happen. Right now, you really need to hope that McMillan and Baker can develop some more chemistry in practice this week. But even then, I think he's a wide receiver 4 or maybe a flex option at best. Again, the same thing with Kansas City. Like, we don't know what the hell is going to happen. We're taking our best guess just based on talent. And, Sterling Shepard's old as shit. McMillan has proven, pretty versatile by being able to play outside or play in the slot. He can go deep. He can be used around the line of scrimmage, just not in the middle. If you're going after him, you're desperate, but there are those of you out there that simply are. That's just the reality.
I mean, you saw the guy's got playmaking ability. If you watched any of his time in college when he was with Washington, with Jalen Polk and Rome Odunze, guy's got playmaking element from the slot, from those alignments. And he, I saw several times in college games where he can stretch the middle of the field. Need to see how the rapport goes. We just need to see who's going to step up. Like Matt mentioned, we don't know what's going to happen. We're not inside Tampa Bay's building at all. Love to be, but not. It's tough. Let's see. Hey, welcome back. Lex Plant Some Trees. I remember you have the second priority claim. Should they use the claim for McMillan, Bateman, or Pearsall?
I wouldn't.
I'd hold on to
honestly. It. I'd hold on to it. And don't forget too. So there's going to be other people out there who are going to go after Jalen McMillan or Ricky Pearsall or whatever, and you get those second order waiver runs where in order to pick these people up, they got to drop somebody.
Yeah.
That's another place to go look for talent. I'm not burning the number 2 priority for any of those dudes, though. I mean, Bateman has played better this year. I think he's got a couple 100-yard games already this season. But at the same time, that's not a high volume passing offense. And when they do throw, Lamar is spreading the ball around. Yeah, I mean, they have 3 tight ends that they use that actually get some play in the passing game.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman, that's a tough one. You can always break one like he did yesterday. His target shares, somewhere between 15-16%, which isn't horrible, but that's tough.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not a horrible target share, but it's not a second claim priority target share.
Yeah. He says Olave's available too.
Olave, I would go after.
That one makes sense because Carr is coming back.
Yep.
And he'll be relevant again. Oops, sorry. Okay, let's see where we at. Tyler Sperry, welcome back, man. Thoughts on Bateman, which we just talked about, and also Otten over Ferguson. I think we had that same question earlier too, did we not?
I think so.
It's pretty cool. I think we both went with Otten because
yes,
he should definitely see some more targets there. My favorite tight end over the next month in fantasy with Godwin and Evans gone. Kathy Sides feels like the Andy Dalton party is over. I didn't even know it started.
Hey, he had that one game.
Yeah. Do you think they could revive if they start Jonathan Brooks?
The running game is not the problem with that offense right now. Chuba Hubbard has been really damn good this year to the surprise of essentially everybody other than maybe his mama. Jonathan Brooks, it's not like they're just going to give him a lion's share of the work anyway. He's somebody that they're going to ease him in. Like Carolina at this point doesn't really give a shit about this year. It's about getting him acclimated to the NFL with an eye towards next year. I mean, they're not officially eliminated from the playoffs, but like nobody in their right mind expects them really to do anything.
And then Kathy Sides follows up with, wonder if it's time to dump DJ. I don't think so.
No, I don't either.
Maybe
he's got a tough matchup this week going against Denver.
Yeah, maybe if you're in a standard league, maybe, but half or full, I'm definitely hanging on to DeAndre.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded, honestly.
That's a fact too. Yeah, he's a free agent after the season.
And if he goes somewhere like Tampa Bay, like Kansas City, dude's stock is to the moon.
Yep. That'd be a good trade. Yep. That would
standard league. Yeah. So yeah, Deontay Johnson isn't as appealing in a standard league as he would be, half point PPR or full PPR. But at the same time, that's a dude that just knows how to get open. And dudes that know how to get open, get the rock. The more you get the rock, the more you accumulate yardage and have a chance to find the end zone.
People keep asking questions. If you would stop asking questions, Kelsey, just kidding. Just kidding. The questions do not have to be football related. Ask away. Bisco, how much weight do you guys place on point projections? Almost nothing. I barely even consider it. You?
Yeah. So you want to remember those projections are only as good as the people that make them. And even when you think about something like ECR, it seems like a lot of times people are terrified of going against the grain. You'll find some, we'll call them experts out there that'll put in like a true ranking where they're not afraid to buck the trend. But if you look at all these different sites, you'll just see a difference of maybe one or two places for these players on any given week. And does that really help you? And, we don't really need somebody to tell us to start Breece Hall, to start Jahmyr Gibbs, to start Justin Jefferson. It's once you get down at the, RB, what's the difference between the RB 24 and the RB 30 this week? Well, nobody really fucking knows. I mean, that's just how it is. And excuse my language or don't, I don't really give a shit. It's my show. But at the same time, we mentioned it before. We're all trying to predict the future. Yeah. We have a rough idea of what we think is going to happen, but who the hell knows if it's going to come to fruition.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple more guys to get through. Jameson Williams is suspended 2 games for violating the performance-enhancing substance policy. Now, Khalif Raymond has the familiarity with the offense, but waiver target Tim Patrick lines up on the outside, just like JMO, much more than Khalif Raymond does. Tell us a bit more about Tim Patrick.
Well, JMO, for whatever reason, cannot just stay out of his own way. I think he's trying to get suspended like every way possible. So he got popped for PEDs, pissed hot, missed a test, whatever it was. He's gone for 2 games. So Tim Patrick is somebody whose fantasy relevance has an expiration date. And he hasn't really been that heavily involved up to this point. He's got 12 targets. He has hauled in 10 of them for 165 yards, but still 16.5 yards per reception is pretty damn nice. Detroit, despite the success they've had through the air here, especially lately, is there a hotter quarterback than Jared Goff? I submit that there is not. Detroit still has the 4th fewest pass attempts in the league. However, they do lead the NFL with 9.3 yards per attempt. Now, Tim Patrick, he's missed past couple of years with injury, and you think back 5 years, there was some promise with him there in Denver, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the speed of JMO, but few people do. He can still be used in roughly a similar manner, and he's already being targeted down the field. He gets good separation. He knows how to get open. He's got decent hands. I would look to maybe what Josh Reynolds did on this team last year as a halfway decent comp. And look, as with all Detroit players, no block, no rock. And this dude blocks well. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty and help out the running game. So he's going to be out there. And quite frankly, they just need him right now. Detroit not going to be tested this week against Tennessee, most likely. But they do have the Packers next week. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, they got Tennessee this week, the Packers next week. I believe that game is in Green Bay. So I could see him being more relevant for that game than he would be against Tennessee. Detroit is something like an 11.5 point favorite this week, which is like their largest spread in,
that's huge.
I don't know,
that's a big
30 years.
That's a big effing number.
That's a big nut to cover. And I don't necessarily know that they're going to do it. I'm pretty sure they're going to get the win. But look, Tim Patrick and his limited usage has been pretty damn reliable, all things considered. Again, if you're desperate, somebody who we know is going to be out there, who's going to get the snaps, who's going to be on the field, and there's a chance he finds the end zone, you could do worse than Tim Patrick.
You could. I mean, I just love it because it's a top-tier offense. Yeah, there's several mouths to feed, but it's definitely going to open up some volume for Tim Patrick.
It certainly is. We got
Paracoy.
Yeah, that'll work. Anyways, trade Justin Jefferson and Patrick Mahomes for Josh Allen, Andrews, and T. Higgins in his super flex. His other QB is Anthony Richardson. Patrick Mahomes, as far as fantasy goes, has been a non-entity this year. Justin Jefferson, top 2 or 3 receiver. You're getting Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, all right. I know he's done better lately. That's just because he's found the end zone. His overall situation has not changed in terms of his target share and snap share. T. Higgins is playing to get paid. So I understand the motivation there. And he's been pretty solid the past couple weeks. You're downgrading at receiver, but that's a big upgrade at quarterback in terms of fantasy. And the big thing with Josh Allen this year is he is not turning the ball over.
That's huge. That's huge. So you do that one?
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm doing it.
Sounds good. All right, one more guy.
One more guy. We've talked about him already, both this year and in this episode. Up in New England, Hunter Henry, being the security blanket for a rookie QB in Drake May. Kyle, if you're in need of a tight end, and is he somebody you're looking for?
He definitely is. This is the last call for the tight end 6 in PPR. He's the tight end 6. I get why fantasy managers are hesitant to trust him. It's the Patriots, inconsistent offense. However, with Drake May under center, the offense has improved slightly over the past 2 weeks, and Henry's stock has risen. He scored a TD in week 6. He led the team in catches, yards, and targets in week 7, catching 8 of 9 for 92. He leads the Patriots in targets since Drake May took over as QB1 a couple weeks ago, and he's averaging 15.2 PPR points the last couple weeks. He is a key part of this passing game. He's an underneath outlet with some seam stretching ability for Drake May, and because of that, he has a very, very nice floor in this offense. In week 6, last couple weeks, he's had a target share, 20% target share, averaging 5.5 receptions, 66.5 receiving yards. Those are tight end 1 worthy numbers, no matter how you slice it. Among the 27 tight ends with at least 30 or more targets, he has the 12th best PFF receiving grade, 4th best ADOT at 9.7. He's 5th in receiving yards at 313. He's tied for 6th with the most targets at 36. The route participation's not too bad. He's at 13th. It's not too bad, 88.6. And he's tied for 10th in yards per route run at 1.5. I think his upside is likely higher than any other traditional tight end available on the waiver wire, except for maybe Otten for the remainder of the season. I believe he will finish. He's tight end 6 right now. I think he'll definitely finish a top 12 option at the end of the year. Patriots host the Jets in week 8. They're tough versus tight ends. They allow the 9th fewest points, but with Drake May looking to, his trusted weapons, which is pretty much Hunter Henry and Pop Douglas, he's definitely one of the playmakers he turns to. I think you can view him very confidently as a low end tight end 1 this week.
I agree. So we got Tony in the chat here on his waiver wire. He's got Hunter Henry, Cade Otton, Dalton Kincaid, and Cole Kmet. He's got an open bench slot, and he's got Laporta and Hawk. The biggest hole on his team is tight end. I have a real hard time rostering 3 tight ends, man. If I pick up another one, I'm dropping somebody. Yeah. I'm going to pick up Otten and drop Laporta, or I'm going to pick up Henry and drop Laporta.
Yeah,
I know it almost feels like sacrilege to say both as a Lions fan, but look, we got to deal with reality.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably time. It's week 8.
And it's a standard league, he says as well.
There you go. Let's see. Bisco, great format, great show. Catch you guys Thursday. Awesome. Good stuff. All right, one more. Let's plant some trees. Drop Jaylen Warren or Braylon Allen for Jennings, McMillan, Pearsall, or Keon Coleman. He has Najee and Brees, PPR, and they start 3 flexes. I want to keep Jaylen Warren. Personally.
Yeah, I want to keep Jaylen Warren, and since you've got Brees, I'm holding on to Braylon Allen.
He has Najee too.
Yeah, but it's Jaylen Warren and Najee both really have defined roles. Braylon Allen is more a handcuff. Jaylen Warren and Najee have standalone value right now. Braylon Allen does not. But if Brees goes down, you're looking at an RB1. Since they had that coaching change there and kind of re-emphasized Brees and the contributions he can make, he is a top 3 running back rest of season in my mind. Keon Coleman, I think, is going to be too up and down there. Jennings, I don't have a problem picking up Jennings in a vacuum, but I don't want to drop either one of those 2 to do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was reading to the next question.
Oh, that's all right.
Tony, he has 4 good running backs, 4 good receivers, and Lamar with no backup anymore. The QB backups have a lot of mid to good options. So you're looking to pick up just an extra quarterback now? When's Lamar on?
Oh, you tell me.
When's Lamar on the bye? Week 14.
Oh, Tony follows that up.
Oh.
He's dropping Josh Downs for Jauan. I endorse that move wholeheartedly.
Definitely. Good stuff. Good stuff. Being that Lamar's buys not till week 14, I personally don't worry about another quarterback right now, if that's what you were asking. Oh, yeah, he's got it there. Never mind. Kathy back. I've got Rachaad White on waivers. Do you think last night was a fluke?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't expect that from him every week, but with the position that the Buccaneers find themselves in when they woke up this morning, Rachaad White is their best pass blocker. He's their best receiver out of the backfield. While he's not the greatest overall runner, that is a good role that the team needs right now. That man is going to be involved. And I mean, shit, they might move his ass to the slot. Who knows what the hell they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely
depending on who you got to drop for, to get Rachaad White, Kathy. Yeah, that's a viable option right there for you.
Heck yeah. All right, we're about 20 minutes over our time, guys, but we loved answering all your questions. We are going to get out of here. Again, if you missed us here in the live chat, put those questions in the comments on the replay. We will answer them promptly. We will be back this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Have a good night, everybody. Stay stoned.
See you, folks.